Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. So I guess everybody has had this kind of experience where you've gotten certain fragrance and at first you enjoyed that fragrance a lot, but then with time you started to reach for that fragrance less and less until you reach a point where you didn't use that fragrance for months. Or maybe you've had the opposite kind of experience where you got a fragrance, you didn't enjoy it that much at first, but then you gave that fragrance a second or a third chance, and then at some point you started to really enjoy that fragrance. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 6 fragrances from my collection that I changed my mind on. So let's start this list off with a fragrance that I had a sort of a negative change of mind about. And that would be the Oud for Glory from the House of Lattafa. Now this fragrance was very hyped up in the community about 7-8 months ago. So I bought into the hype, I got the fragrance, and I would admit that it comes in very nice, the presentation of this fragrance is very nice. So I started using this fragrance, I did my review about it, but the more I started, at first I was sort of enjoying it, but then the more I was using it, the more I realized that there is a certain note in here, and I think that's the way that the oud note have been, the Lattafa have used in here, that started to bother me, and the more I was wearing it, the more it bothered me, and so I actually have not used this fragrance for now probably about 3 to 4 months, and I don't see myself using this anytime soon. So the first sort of negative change of mind would be about the Oud for Glory from the House of Lattafa. Now let's move to a fragrance that I had a positive change of mind about, and that's going to be the 9 p.m. from the House of Afnan. Now this is another very hyped up fragrance in the community. Everybody was raving how good this smells, how more expensive than the actual price tag this smells, and how great of a performer this was. So I got the fragrance, I started using it, I did my review about it, and to be honest, I enjoyed the fragrance from the beginning, the scent wise, but the performance wasn't there. So I left it sitting on a shelf somewhere, and then I got it out probably about 4 months later after I started using this. And at first this was giving me about 6 to 7 hours of performance, and then 4 months later this had turned into almost a beast performing fragrance. Nowadays I get about 9 to 10 hours on my skin with very solid projection, and to be honest also scent wise this has improved a little bit. At first it was a little bit rough around the edges, and now the sort of whole scent profile has settled down a little bit, and in the past month and a half I've been really enjoying a lot the 9 p.m. from the House of Afnan, and in fact I'm wearing this even as I do this video. Now let's move to another disappointing fragrance, and that's going to be the Roberto Cavalli Uomo Golden Anniversary Edition. Now, at first I was very excited about this fragrance because it's a sort of a hard to find fragrance. I even included this fragrance into my best blind buys of the year video at the end of last year. But the more I've used this fragrance since I did that video, the more I realized that there's a sort of a disturbing note in this fragrance that's really making me uncomfortable. And that's mostly on the dry down. In the opening this doesn't bother me that much, but when this starts to dry down it sort of starts to bother me, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the thing that sort of disturbs me is the leather note in here. Now in the opening the leather note isn't as prominent, and that's why probably I've enjoyed the opening of this fragrance, but when this starts to dry down and the leather note starts to become more noticeable, that starts to bother me more and more. And to be honest, it's not only about this fragrance, but I think most of the fragrances that revolve around a main note of leather, they sort of have this effect on me. So the second sort of disappointing fragrance in this list is going to be the Roberto Cavalli Uomo Golden Anniversary Edition. Now let's move to a positive change of mind on a fragrance, and that's going to be the Rojas Mustache EDP. Now again, I got this fragrance because it was hyped up in the community, and when I firstly got it, I received it, I gave it a few wearings, but from the beginning there was something in here that just again was making me a little bit uncomfortable, and I think that was at first that spicy notes in the opening. But actually, I left it for about a month or so, and then I decided to take it out and give it sort of a second chance. And then I realized that after the first few minutes pass, from the opening of this fragrance, then this starts to dry down to a really nice sort of a classy mix of rose, patchouli, vanilla, and suddenly I had a change of heart to the positive side, and ever since that moment I've been wearing the Mustache EDP, and I've enjoyed it, and actually I've received a lot of compliments from people around me, and also it turns out that my girlfriend also likes a lot the Mustache EDP. So a positive change of mind about the fragrance is going to be the Rojas Mustache EDP. Now, the last fragrance that I had a negative change of mind about in this video is going to be the Bentley for Men Intense. Now, again, I got this fragrance, I bought it blindly, I bought it because of the hype in the community. Everybody was saying how unique this smells, how good of a performer this is. And to be honest, this indeed is a great performing fragrance. And when I first got it, I sprayed it in the air and I smelled it off the cap, and this sort of like smelling it that from the sprayer itself sort of reminds me even to this day to Givenchy Gentleman EDP. But then when I actually spray it on myself, on skin and on clothes, there's a certain, I don't know, an inky note. That's the best way I can explain it. It sort of smells the way that the ink in the pens when I was back in high school used to smell, and that just bothers me. Now, as I said, to be honest, this is actually a really good performing fragrance, and I've the few times that I've worn this, I've received quite a few compliments from people around me. So it's probably a sort of crowd-pleasing scent, but I just don't enjoy it, and I have not worn this in quite a few months, the Bentley Intense for Men. Okay, let's finish off this video on a positive note, and that one is going to be a fragrance that I have a positive change of mind about, and that's going to be the Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Prive. Now, I have a very interesting sort of relationship with this fragrance. I was thinking about buying this for months, and every time that I would get that idea in my mind, I would go to a store, test this fragrance out, and then I would be disappointed, because to me this fragrance smells like at least used to smell like 95 or 98% close to Givenchy Gentleman EDP. So every time I would go to a store, test this out, I would think that it just feels redundant to have, because I already have the Givenchy Gentleman EDP. And then I would come home, and in like a week or two time I would get this idea back into my head that I need to try out Reserve Prive. I would go to test it again, come back home with the same idea that this is redundant, and I did this probably like 6 or 7 times. But finally last month, this starting of this month, I found a really good deal online. I purchased the fragrance, and I'm happy to say that I'm not disappointed at all. I've already given it a few wears, and I really enjoy it, and I don't think it's redundant even if you have the Givenchy Gentleman EDP. So that will be a positive change of mind about Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Prive. And so guys, in today's video I showed you 6 fragrances that I had a change of mind about. I hope that you found this video interesting or entertaining. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, stay safe, and I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye bye.